So let's discuss today's big reveal with Ahmed Manafa, engineering professor at San Jose State and expert on AI technologies. Professor, always a pleasure to see you. First, there was a lot of talk this afternoon about what Apple did not spend much time talking about at the event today, and that's artificial intelligence.
That is true. I mean, here's the deal. We've seen the products of Apple thinner, cooler, but not smarter. That's what everybody's talking about. The expectation was to have Siri as a smart, the new smart device to this new smart agent. They didn't talk about it. They talk about it briefly about using AI in the live translation, in the FaceTime and also on the AirPod, and also talking about this one to manage the battery of the iPhone in addition to some kind of other functions that it is under the hood. But there is no talk about, okay, this is our Gemini, this is our ChatGPT, this is what you're going to use for this one. They're keeping this one for 2026.
Yeah, okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about why Apple may not be discussing so much about AI, because it was a very different story last year during the big sales pitch for the iPhone 16. I mean, did Apple sort of learn a lesson here, and because some people felt like it under-delivered?
True. That's a true statement. What happened is, the event in September is all about products and hardware, mainly hardware. The one in June, the event is about software and the services. So today they focus more on talking about what's new with the iPhone, 17 and the different variation of that iPhone. They didn't really spend too much time on AI because they don't have anything to offer at this time. They're working on that. They say that it's going to be in 2026, so they don't want to promise things and then 6 or 7 months from now we found out that it's not delivered. And everybody understands that Apple is a little bit behind when it comes to AI. But we know Apple. Apple always comes late to the party, but they become the star of the party. That's the story of Apple.
Okay, so how does Apple Intelligence compare to competitors?
Well, it's the key thing about it here is using some of their own Apple Intelligence, which is their own in-house development there. But it's not up to the level of Gemini or ChatGPT because it's not their focus. You can tell from everything they're talking about, this is not their focus. They can go and you can have ChatGPT on your iPhone, you can have any other agent on your iPhone, but that's not going to be native to Apple. They're waiting for their own Apple Intelligence before they can tell the world that this is the new Siri.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to wait until 2026. What about the concerns right now about Apple Intelligence? Can it be removed? Can you opt out?
Well, they have two kind of the AI, which is the one we can run it on the A19 processor you mentioned in the report, which is any kind of quick questions you can the computer can the iPhone can process it. Excuse me. If they need more power, then they can go to something called private cloud, which is basically now you're leaving the iPhone and going to outside services. And this is where you're going to have the more powerful one. That's what they're talking about it compared to any other intelligence in the market.
Okay, but there are some folks who are concerned about the unintended dangers, right, of having their private data in such a vulnerable position.
True. And this is why Apple is careful about that, because all Apple product is about privacy and control. When talking about privacy, they pride themselves about what happened in the iPhone stays in the iPhone. Number two, the control, it means, has to be part of the ecosystem of Apple, which means we don't want to bring anybody from outside to be part of our products. We want to make sure that it's part of a product that we built ourselves. This is why this is holding them back until to get to that level.
Yeah, but if AI is sort of embedded within the devices, does a user then kind of lose a little bit control?
Well, where is this information going to go? That's the big question. You're right about it, Heather. Where is this information going to go? Where is it going to be saved? It's going to be saved on the phone. Now you're fine. If it's going to be saved somewhere else, then there is a question about it.
I guess my question is that for some people, this idea, though, that AI is constantly monitoring everything that I have on my phone, creating, answering questions for me, finishing text messages, maybe that's a little problematic for some folks.
That is true. That is true. It's too much help is not help for some people.
Yeah.
And that's the case for it. They say, okay, so what's left for me? So basically you are doing everything at the same time. Now you know what I'm thinking about. I'm worried about it. And I'm sure that this is one of the concerns that Apple has about how can we take this kind of feeling of insecurity when people are overusing this and they say, okay, so they know this device knows everything about me. And this is why we see them late about it, because again, the key thing for them is privacy and control. They make sure that both those features are available for the customers.
Yeah, so taking a little bit more of a careful approach, at least in your opinion. All right, Ahmed Banafa, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Heather.